All right, let's look at the back of the worksheet now and see how they're having us convert. They're giving us these recursives. Given this recursive, determine the explicit. So they're wanting us to take the information we need out of the recursive to build the explicit. So let's see how we do. I can see the first term is 12 and it's multiplying by 8. So we would say, oh, by the way, f of n equals, so we would begin with 12 multiplying by 8 each time to the power of n minus time 1. Where do these things come from? This little 1 is because it's f of 1 equals 12. This 8 is because it's multiplying by 8 right there. And then this 12 came from right there. Okay, let's go do a couple more. This time it begins with 10 multiplying by negative 2 each time to the power of n. And you can write n minus 0 or just n, whatever works for you. This one begins with 7 multiplying by 6 each time to the power of n minus 0. This next one begins at negative 15 multiplying by 5 each time to the power of n minus time 1. This one begins with negative 7 multiplying by 3 to the power of n minus 0. Begins with 16 multiplying by a half to the power of n minus 1. How'd you do on those? Now, given the explicit, write the recursive. F of 0 equals negative 10. Look to see if you can see where I got that. F of n equals f of n minus 1 times 3. F of 1 equals 65. F of n equals f of n minus 1 times 3/4. F of 1 equals 8. F of n equals f of n minus 1 times 10. Each of the tables below represents a geometric sequence. Find the missing terms in the sequence. So here's one that begins at 12, multiplying by some unknown r 1, 2, 3 times. It's equal to 324. Here's that equation we build. 324 divided by 12 is 27. And the cubed root of 27 is 3. So 12 times 3 is 36. 36 times 3 is 108. And then 324 times 8. I'm sorry, times 3 is 972. All right, pause the video and try the next one, setting up the same equation. Okay, let's see how you did. Begins at 32, 1, 2, 3 jumps, ending at negative 256. So this time our r cubed is 256 divided by 32. So it's 8. And by the way, that's a negative 8. And so when I take the cubed root of negative 8, I get negative 2. So 32 times negative 2 is negative 64. Negative 64 times negative 2, positive 128. And then do that again, you get the negative 256. Now what about going the other direction? Let's do 32 divided by negative 2. Do you see how that would give us a negative 16? How'd you do? Now this next one is decreasing. So it begins at 64, 2 jumps to get to a 16. I'm going to get r squared is equal to 1/4. And so when I square root both sides, I get that r is equal to half. So 64 divided by half is 32. 32 divided in half is 16. 16 divided in half is 8. 8 divided in half is 4. How did you do? All right, last but not least, we see a pattern here. Looks like from an 8 to a 24, it's timesing by 3. So let's keep that pattern going. 216 times 3. $648. 648 times 3 is 1944. Recursive goes f of 1 equals 8. F of n equals f of n minus 1 times 3. And then f of n begins with 8 multiplying by 3 each time to the power of n minus 1. And here it's asking for the 10th term. So they want f of 10 plugged in to the power of 10 minus 1 or to the power of 9. So we get 157,464. Okay, this next one looks like it's decreasing. Looks like it's going down by 7. 29 minus 7 is 22. 22 minus 7 is 15. Recursive goes f of 1 equals 50. F of n equals f of n minus 1 minus 7. Explicit begins with 50 minusing 7 times big N minus 1. And when they ask us for the 25th term, they're wanting us to plug in that 25. Or 7 times 24. So we're going to get negative 118. All right, how'd you do on these?